Welcome to Unscripted Coding. We're starting here with chatgpt because what we're trying to do is inject life, human-like experiences into a chatbot. And what better way than to look at chatgpt? Now, I have no complaints with chatgpt. You can see that it has helped code for this project, and you're going to see me muddle and really face challenges, and GPT comes to the rescue. But the problem with ChatGPT is that it always feels like it is at my beck and call. And so if I ask it a question, it takes 3, maybe 5 seconds tops to respond. And, my own family, my closest friends don't respond with that kind of tenacity. They don't respond 5 seconds at midnight. They take time. And if I ask a question like this, they might take 10 minutes to go search on the web. They might take a half hour because they're eating lunch. They might be asleep, or they might be on vacation and it takes 8 hours, 8 days for them to respond. And so I don't expect real people to respond in this kind of fashion. And so as unhelpful as it seems, I wanted to build a chatbot that has more of these lifelike tendencies. So I'm going to create 2 different features. The first is a slight random delay to these responses. We're going to shorten it for demo purposes, but as I said, he might be eating lunch. ChatGPT might be eating a sandwich, might be, doing a full-blown 3-course meal that takes an hour and a half. It shouldn't be responding immediately if it is a human. The other thing that is more helpful is that every time I interact with ChatGPT, it's me initiating that conversation. I'm the one that asks it for help. I'm the one that opens a conversation. But what if we flip it the other way around so that ChatGPT reaches out? Not just the first message, but say we go quiet for 2 days. It reaches out and says, hey, I was thinking about you. Hey, I had an issue. And so what you're going to see is this code that I have created. The AI is going to act like it's Albert Einstein. We're going to start debugging. And ideally, Albert Einstein isn't just an encyclopedia that responds to my questions, but one that will proactively reach out. So I'm just going to say hello. We have tied ChatGPT into Discord. And you can see that immediately I added a token delay. There could be much smarter designs, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I added a random delay between 1 and 10 seconds. So Discord GPT took a few seconds. And it is responding. It's taking a bit of time, and some of this is quite artificial. Now, what I'm hoping right now is that the next message is going to be Discord GPT proactively reaching out, because sometimes conversations just die out and fizzle out. And so sometimes I might just forget to respond to someone. We're sitting here, nothing has happened for 2-3 weeks, maybe 2-3 days, and your friend reaches out. Number one, that I said I'm facing a bit of a problem. Hopefully Discord GPT might come and reach out and say, hey, I haven't heard back about your problem. Are you still facing it? But it might be other things. I saw this random interesting fact, thought about you. And so in this case, it seemed like our conversation got momentarily paused. How can I assist you today? Blah, blah, blah. So it's picking up that I'm still facing a problem. Haven't gotten a response from him directly. And so it's proactively rechecking in with me. And I think that adds a bit of humanness to it. if you're thinking about ChatGPT and thinking, why does that matter? Well, that's one chatbot that folks are using a lot. And it's very practical. Help me with my assignments, answer this problem, help me write code. But if you look at some of the other major players that younger people are picking up on, it's Character AI, it's Poe. They have a lot of these role-playing chatbots. And, I picked Albert Einstein, very boring, and you could pick Napoleon Bonaparte, very boring, but you have people from video games, game characters, you have anime characters. I thought that was one that was like historical characters. But let's say game characters. I'm not looking for instant answers. I'm interested in creating a conversation that simulates a real live person. Now, I can't imagine the Master Chief from Halo or any of these characters when I text them at 2 a.m. to have instant responses. That just isn't very realistic. But if we create some code in which there are off-limit hours, that there are extra delays, that they take time to respond, and that they sometimes reach out to you directly, it becomes a much more interesting conversation, a much more realistic conversation. And so we're going to go back here and look at Discord, and it looks like Discord GPT reached out again. I hope everything is okay with you, picking up that the last time we talked, we were having this conversation. So that's all there is to it. It's clearly artificial. It's clearly, not adding any intelligence or emotions into the AI, but it creates a more realistic simulation. If you are role-playing, it creates a more realistic experience, more human experience. And so I want to share with you how I built it. Alright, so we're following this tutorial, Build a Discord Bot with Python, from Eric Chi. It's very clear, it has great screenshots, so I'm going to link it right in the description. But we have some very basic steps. Now, I'm barreling through this because I am assuming you are all familiar a little bit with basic Python. So I have a blank, almost blank folder, and all I've done is create a virtual environment and install Discord Python. So you'll see the very simple steps. I went to my folder, I created a virtual environment right here, I activated the virtual environment, and finally I went pip install Discord. So that's step one. The next 2-3 steps are all Discord related. First of all, we have to create an application, and then we have to move the bot into our channel. So we're gonna go into this developer portal, and we're going to create a new application. I'm going to call it Discord. I don't think we can use Discord, so we'll call it Disk-GPT. And of course, we have to agree to some policies. But what's really nice is that it's fairly simple. In fact, you are automatically creating a bot accordingly. So I am going to give it a whole bunch of text permissions. But if you think about it, we really don't need everything. All we're trying to do is be able to have this communication back and forth. So we don't need voice permissions. We don't need, banning or managing members at all. We just want the basic have a conversation. The next bit is actually setting up your account. So if you don't have a Discord account yet, go sign up. First thing you're going to see is this page. You're going to go add a server, create your own server, and this is where Anson server comes in. I created one text channel called test, and that's where we're going to put our bot. In fact, let's call it GPT conversation, something little more relevant than test, and that's where we're going to throw our bot in. So now that we have an application, we have bot permissions, we're going to have to add the bot into our chat. So what we're going to do is go to OAuth 2, go into URL generator, and we're going to have under scopes, just check off bot. And finally, the same text permissions all the way down. We can probably read these closer. So I see right here, like attaching files. Probably not going to do that. But once you've selected everything, there is this URL right at the bottom, and we're going to click copy. We're going to paste it in and add it to a server. Now, if you have lots of server, you can see this is basically a fresh account. Pick the right server. We're going to add it to Anson server. It has all of these abilities to do things, and we'll just authorize it. And we'll just close this, but you can see we got a message. Disk GPT or Discord GPT is now part of our GPT conversation text channel. All right, that should take us all the way to the bottom here, and the next step is coding our bot. So we're going to keep skipping along here. To start the code, first thing I did was I pip installed OpenAI here. We're going to need that very soon. The other thing I did was just create a blank main.py file and copy what was in the tutorial. So it seems very simple. You import Discord, you start the bot and create a client, and he has two different examples here. First is an on-ready function. That means it is now turned on. The first thing it does is it tries to figure out how many servers or guilds it's a part of. Not important, not something I would do, but it's a good kind of demo piece of code about what you can do. And then the next one is more interesting, is on message. So when there's a new message in the channel, it does a check. If it says hello, it will then send a message back. So if it says hello, I will say hey right back. Very, very basic, obvious answer. And so we're obviously going to build on top of this particular on message feature. We're ideally going to keep every piece of content, every message that comes in, keep a record of it, and have a conversation afterwards. So have a response no matter what is being said, not just hello, but also goodbye, yo, what's up, or what's 2 + 2. And finally, we're going to need to run. This is the code, this is the token, so basically password, that was associated with this tutorial. It's obviously deactivated. And so if you go back into your application and go into bot, you're going to be able to click reset token. You're going to see your own token right here. I'll copy it. Don't even bother. I'm going to erase it right after. But in the time being, we're going to save this. So I have moved it over to my virtual environment, and should zoom in here so everyone can take a closer look. And word wrap. Let's just run and see. Ooh, I did not expect that. Okay, so it looks like line 6. right here. We didn't pass enough information. So I have a suspicion that Discord Python has updated over time. So this tutorial was 6 or 7 months ago. So I see right here that we're supposed to pass an intent through here. And we will just match the tutorial name, and hopefully we get a bit more luck here. Oh, I see. We didn't give the right permission. So I'm sure the messages are fine, but it might be the guild count that's throwing us off. So let's go back into the bot. Oh, and look at that. We didn't... Something is wrong here, but I'm just going to grant it administrator. And also come into the URL to grant it administrator abilities as well. And let's see if we can add the bot back into my server. So let's authorize it. You probably don't want to give it admin abilities, but for the purposes here, let's try it out. And okay, this is going to be painful, so I'm going to stop talking for a moment. Okay, it looks like we weren't clear enough. I think it's these privilege gateway intents that we are supposed to turn on that weren't available. We should probably take a closer look after everything to turn off what we don't need. But for now, you can see that I ran it, we connected, and finally it said, you know, we're in one guild, and we'll call it Disk GPT just to stay consistent. Now, what will be interesting is that we're running this on the side, and I am supposed to respond when somebody says hello. So let's see. Hopefully. Excellent. So when I say hello, DiskGPT was able to capture the fact that somebody said hello, and then they respond back to hey. I am purely doing this for myself, so I'm going to assume there's only one user in the channel. That is a bad assumption for Discord, but let's assume that I'm the only one who will ever see the server, that will ever join the channel, and that will save us a bit of time, because our next step is we're going to start saving these messages in the back end. Now, again, if you're using this bot on many channels, if you're serving many different servers, this gets more and more complicated, because somewhere you have to store, you know, a list of the conversation history. You have to store it somewhere. But for us, making a basic assumption here, but I'm only responding to a text, and we could keep that all in one Python variable, not a huge lift for my computer. And this is also running on my computer locally here. In theory, you should be offloading this to Microsoft Azure or AWS or something, so that, you know, when you shut off your computer, your bot doesn't die along with it. Okay, so we have this beautiful code from OpenAI that I need to copy and paste from somewhere. So hang on just a moment. And we have here the Python code. I'm picking some basics here. GPT 3.5 Turbo. We can obviously switch this to GPT-4. Lots of different options here, but I'm just going to copy this over. And where did our code go to? And let's paste it right here. So we are going to come down. I guess we could start the client over here and get a response instead down here. So we'll send a chat completion. I think what we're missing is an API key. So I'm just on the side here creating a just another moment here. Okay, I needed to do some user verification for the OpenAI key. Really bad practice, and obviously, again, I'm going to remove the key, but we're just trying to build something quite minimal here. Actually, what I'm going to do is just run this on the side because I'm not sure where I'm supposed to put the key. So hopefully the error will tell me where to enter it. Start debugging. Here we go. And API key to the client. Okay, so I believe it is over here, client.api key equals OpenAI key. So that should get us started, and I'll just let's just run it one more time. Well, it got past that section. Okay, come back down here. This will need to be tabbed in. So what we're going to do is have a global variable called messages. And for now, it's going to look like this. And if you haven't played around with OpenAI so far, your conversation is saved as a series in a list of messages. Now, each time you have a role, which is system, so some system messages, the assistant, which is OpenAI, and finally the user, which is yourself. In this case, we're just going to pass messages instead, and we're going to append messages.append the latest message you caught from the chat, from the channel. So in this case, we have a role. This will be user as well, and the content will be message content. And finally, we're going to send back the response. Now, I know that that's not the case. It should be, the response is a nestled series of dictionaries, so we're going to need something like response.content.something.something. But for now, let's go with this. We'll start the system message off with pretend you are Albert Einstein. And what we're going to do is we're going to see this message sent to Albert Einstein. So we will click play, or rather we'll just run here. No, there's an issue here. So we didn't call the API key correctly. I think we might be able to go this instead. And let's comment this out. It was weird. I thought it already worked previously. There we go. So now, if we go back into our channel and say, what is your name? It should be sending to OpenAI, getting a response, and responding back with, my name's Albert or something. Ah. Never mind. Not my name is Albert. So we're going to have to go choices, the first choice. And you can see this is a very long reply. So we'll go choices, 0, and I believe it is content, but let's take a closer look again. Content. Very good. Let's stop before we burn it out. Let's run this one more time. Well, let's try this anyways. So I will come back here. Hi. And yeah, as predicted from Pylint, chat completion object is not subscriptable. Let's Google this error. Here we go. Hopefully, this time it'll work. First response from Stack Overflow. Hello. What is your name? And we're hoping for Albert Einstein here. That is a very long response here. But it does hit Albert Einstein. We need to do a lot more prompting here. Keep your responses short. Oh. Oh, I see what's happening. So you see, we said something, it responded, and then it's picking up on its response, and it's responding, and it's picking up on its response and responding, and so it's going to keep going. Interesting. So I'm going to stop this, and I think we're going to need to do some real coding here, or at least a better understanding of how we can detect messages that are not itself. And from there, we're going to need to keep appending into this long-running messages before we even move to the final part, which is install a cron job in all of this. Okay, I think it's about time. This took a lot longer than I thought. I think I'm probably sitting at a little over an hour now. I had an initial approach that worked in pieces, but I had to learn about the cog system from ChatGPT. So, first of all, let's talk through what we did originally in this main backup file. First of all, we imported Discord, OpenAI, and we had two listeners. One when the bot was ready, don't care so much about that, and one when it receives a message. We took a look at the message, made sure it wasn't the bot responding to itself, so that's where this check comes in. And basically, we sent a message to OpenAI. Now, we have this global variable in which we were keeping a running list of the conversation. So if you haven't used OpenAI's API in the past, you have a couple different types of messages. The first is system messages. It's not visible. It's not supposed to be visible to the bot or the user. It's just to give the system a bit of context that it is Albert Einstein, or that it's a coding professor, or that it's supposed to respond in Markdown or HTML or something like that. So system messages, and then the other two are user and assistant. That's me and the bot. And so you have this running list of messages. These are each dictionaries with role and then the message. So if you have a long conversation, this thing will stretch out hundreds, maybe even thousands of strings, or I guess dictionaries long. And so the whole portion of this is just appending pieces back into that message. So every time the user puts something, we append it as the user, and then after we get a response, we append it as the assistant. So this one worked really well. Every time I said something in the channel, it would send it to OpenAI, take a minute to digest, spit an answer back out, and then we see a response. The next piece is this AIO cron job. And basically, this is a scheduled task. In this case, every 10 seconds, it's going to run this restart conversation. The rest of the code is all just how to set things up. And so I don't think you need to know it. You just need to see it to understand to rebuild it. But every time, say 10 seconds pass, I do a check. This is purely to add a bit of randomness so that it doesn't go every 2 hours the bot checks on you. I want it to be a little more spontaneous. Sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes it's 5 hours, whatever. And I just tell the system that the chat has stalled for a little bit and you need to, as the bot, reinvigorate it. Ask for a favor, tell a joke, say, hey, what's happening? Why haven't you spoken? Whatever, to make it a little organic. And once again, send it to OpenAI, append it to the messages, blah, 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 and we're in. And so in this case, we run it as well. And the problem was that these are two separate bots, two different types. This one is a command one, and this one is just our standard Discord client. And so when I started the second one, the first one wasn't running, or vice versa. And so to make this all work, we need to use the cog system in Discord. Here, you can see that there are two separate cogs, OpenAI and the cron cog. It's occurring to me right now that we may need to fix this because the two cogs don't have access to this global messages variable. So I think what I'm going to have to do is move this out here somewhere and make reference to it in here instead. So I'll fix that up in a moment. So instead of self.messages, I'll import from main import, what do we call it, messages. And I think there we go. We'll use messages instead of self.messages. And I'll fix that up. I probably shouldn't do this on the fly. And what's happening is we split this into two different cogs, and all of this is the same tasks as we described before, but a different structure so that it can pull on either side. So that's all there is to it. I think I'm going to share this on GitHub so that other folks can take a look at it. But what we have is a working bot. So we have to start a final demo, don't we? We have our bot. We'll go to the main.py, and we're going to start debugging. And so if we move this aside, I'm just going to say hello there. And we have a workable chatbot. Now, that's just part of the issue, and it's responding, but now, every now and then, it's going to restart the conversation. And I think it's important to think about how little things like this make AI seem more real. So when I work with chatgpt, the responses are always automatic, and while they're very helpful, it's very inorganic, it's very odd. But if you have delays when they respond, and sometimes they reach out to you proactively, I feel like you can have a much more realistic, much more human-like conversation. Is that necessarily a good thing? I don't really know, but this is just one quick way to show you how this can be done. Now, we've done this with Discord, but you could throw this into WhatsApp or even text messages and emails and have that conversation back and forth. You stop, and then it'll reach out with random things. So in this case, long time no chat, blah, 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 and it gives you an interesting fact. This one starts with a joke. It might ask you for a favor. It might come back to the start of the conversation and ask about why you're not responding. So obviously, this is a little overzealous. I've tweaked it so that, anywhere from 10 seconds to a minute for demo purposes. But if somebody reaches out every 2 or 3 days, I think that is a very interesting, seamless kind of response. And now that I'm thinking about it, another thing we could do is add a delay to these responses, again, to make it more realistic. In the OpenAI cog, I can just add a delay on this on message. Anyways, I hope that was interesting and helpful. Maybe not a lot of practical uses, although tying OpenAI directly to Discord makes it more approachable for me, at least. But having this extra layer just seems very fun and interesting to me. I'll see you next week for another project. Thanks for watching.